Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Libra and your moon in Virgo. I just did the opposite combination of this. And there are going to be similar themes, and it's not just because they are the same signs transposed. It's because of what they represent. So with the sun, we're talking about this center of your universe and how you project that onto the world. And with Libra, we're talking about a cardinal air sign. So it's somebody who is very, has very good communication skills, is very glib, but also is a take charge kind of person. Because Libra is ruled by Venus, this take charge aspect of yourself is fairly harmonious. I'm thinking back to a friendship I had with a Sun in Libra individual who always seemed to get their way, even though I went along with it. I mean, it didn't feel like overbearing because of the way that the person asserted themselves in a very kind of gracious way. So the point of the cardinal signs, the other cardinal signs are Capricorn and Cancer and Aries, is that they are doers. They are movers and shakers, if you will. They're initiators. And so you will see with these kinds of signs that they will tend to be very interested in going out and doing a lot of stuff. Like even if it's for fun, it's like not just chilling and watching TV, but going out and like physically doing stuff, or it could be, leadership abilities, the ability to be a manager or some other type of boss, or work for yourself. That could be a big one too. But with Libra, the fly in the ointment is that there is a need for approval, kind of like the opposite of fellow air sign Aquarius, which wants to be rebellious and nonconformist and doesn't care if they piss somebody off. A Libra person really does. A Libra person takes it to heart if somebody expresses disapproval of them, because there's a need for harmony, and that includes within the self. If you see the symbol of Libra, it's the scales. The scales represent balance, and balance is in all areas of life, including your one-on-one relationships, which, by the way, Libra rules that house, the seventh house, house of marriage and other one-on-one relationships. So there's that need for that harmony within these interactions, and you have to realize that that ain't going to happen. There are always going to be people who disagree with you. Even if you try to twist yourself into a pretzel and become what they want you to become. Which brings me to the next thing. This could especially play out in relationships because you are so relationship oriented. So you have to really be careful about that. Now, what if you have your moon in the seventh house, in Libra's house? Then you're really going to feel that desire to be in a couple. I always want to know, is it just saying being in a coupledom, couplehood? It seems it should be some little add-on word there. And the first thing that I sensed when I was thinking about what this is going to be is vulnerability, strangely enough, even though both of these signs are not emotional. You're talking about the air element with Libra and the earth with Virgo. There's actually this desire for being rational, being logical, being practical, not being, well, at least the Virgo side, I should say, but not being, emotional into this intensity or anything. Now, speaking of intensity, because you are a sun in Libra, you might have inner planets in Scorpio. So that could definitely affect things. So if you have your Mercury in Scorpio and nothing else, then it might just be that speech-wise, occasionally you kind of say something very cutting to the bone. It might be true, but it might not be very nice, and it kind of surprises even you. But it's like, the main things that would probably elicit this are if somebody said something that you thought was bigoted or hateful or something, then you might respond with a very well-placed jab. And if your Venus is in Scorpio, or even Mars, you might have a tendency towards jealousy, suspicion, trust issues, and that can wreak havoc on your love life because you might be much more emotionally involved instead of staying above the fray that way. An air sign typically does not act in a possessive way, and that bodes well for relationships. I actually think air sign people, and if the moon is in the air sign, can be very much on an even keel emotionally, and that can get them far in life and make it easier for them to deal with all kinds of people. I have the sun in Sag, and I have the moon in Virgo. So I have the Virgo in common with you, but I can say that I feel like I don't like dealing with people who are very abrasive and, those kinds of people. And somebody might say, well, no, duh, who would? But if somebody has a lot of air, it doesn't really affect them that much because they tend to let it fall off themselves very easily. They don't take it to heart. There might be other things. I have Chiron contact with the moon and stuff like that. So I just might be more emotional because of that. But in general, I think that this combination is good for emotional stability, but there might be insecurity because I feel that the moon is the shadow aspect of each sign more than anything else. And with the moon in Virgo, the person tends to be hard on themselves, self-critical, but also, like a perfectionist. And I guess those go together hand in hand. The mother can represent Virgo, not necessarily her sun sign, but the way she acts, the way she treats you or treated you, if that was a past situation. And it can be very critical. And what that does is it makes the person very, what's that term? Self-conscious. I had to pause it so I wouldn't just have a bunch of dead air there. But yeah, self-conscious. It's such a big thing. And I can attest to that. And I'm sure many of you can. And with the sun in Libra, this self-consciousness can even be about appearance. And Libra, I'm beginning to feel more and more struggles with this, even if the person's physically beautiful or attractive, which I don't know if that's, I always think of attractive as like kind of a B-level gorgeousness, But also look to the rising sign for body issues because that can also play into it. If your rising sign is Libra as well, that can really exacerbate the situation because you emotionally, and this is where a lot of this stuff plays out, the person is insecure and they are looking for perfection, and that's a bad combination, right? If you're insecure and looking for perfection. And because Libra is so associated with beauty and the appearance, that can lead to that unfortunate trend, especially nowadays with all the different types of quote unquote work that people are doing, and then this is especially with women, that they just go down that rabbit hole. And by the way, I'm not, meaning to throw shade at anybody who has done this, because this is the reason that I'm against it. There are two reasons I'm against plastic surgery and work, that isn't actual surgery, like getting your lips filled and all that stuff. Is first of all, the question is why you're doing it, and I feel called. I'm, maybe being a Sag, I'm a little preachy, but I do want to say this is like, or getting breast implants, things like that. It's like, why are you doing it? Why are you going under the knife? Why are you putting this into your body? If you really question it, I've heard so many responses. Oh, my clothes fit better, da da da. The real reason a lot of times is that they want that approval from the opposite sex. Notice I didn't say same sex, because I don't know of many women that get breast implants for other women. I don't know if that's ever been done in the history of breast implants. It's usually to get approval from a man. Now, it might be a current relationship that you are, that is dysfunctional. That is, I didn't mean dysfunctional. I meant codependent. And that person, what that person is probably doing is they know they can exploit this weakness inside of you. So they are, trying to tell you that you're not good enough based on your appearance. So if you've given birth, oh, have you gone back to the gym yet? Kind of hinting around. So I do think that with Libra people and with this moon in Virgo, this may be exacerbated, that you may pick a partner, and this may be on an energetic level versus a conscious level, who then is critical of you, maybe the way your mom was critical of you. And so then you are jumping through all these hoops. So look at your relationships, or a relationship, or maybe past relationships, and see if this has been a pattern for you, because that's definitely something to work on, to stop seeking validation especially through your physical appearance, because this is a spiritual issue at the end of the day. The body is temporary, and the body goes through changes. And the other piece that I don't like about this is that I think it actually detracts from a person's looks. I've seen so many cases where I just saw this woman, and I almost thought, how they have those filters that, distort the face. And she had like really big duck lips, and it was just obscenely big. And I've seen, sometimes they have those distorting kinds of filters for fun. But then I realized that this was really her appearance. And it's obvious that when you are doing something, I'm not talking about like a little filler. I don't agree with any fillers, but I mean, sometimes it can be just barely noticeable. I'm talking about when it's just like really like bee stung, told, crazy big. And it doesn't look good. I mean, it just doesn't look good to do it like that. And it really makes me think that somebody has, emotional problems. And it's like, but the thing is, it's distorting their perception of who they are. So I mentioned this with the other combination, eating disorders. And I do think that this is possible with this combination as well, because the moon is in Virgo, and Virgo is the sign the sign that rules the sixth house of health. The moon is connected to health. So there is that connection with health. And on the plus side, and I've seen this with myself, you may be interested in health. Especially alternative health, herbalism, natural, vegetarian, or vegan types of diets, things that are plant-based, earthy kinds of things. And so that can be a positive. And maybe you even go into that type of profession because you have your sun in Libra. You have a very engaging personality. You may have a very beautiful exterior, which is definitely, a good sales point if you're sales pitch. If you look attractive and you're trying to sell a particular diet or particular product, you can do so much easier if you look the way that people want to look. So any kind of speaking of that, and I didn't even think about this with Libra because I think that Libra would actually make a wonderful sales type of person. Gemini is associated with sales, and yet I think Libra might even do better in certain cases because you have an innate understanding of how to present things in a very beautiful package. And I'm talking about not only your physical appearance, but you have a way with words, and you meet persuasive techniques, and this is why Libra as a profession tends to be attracted to the law, whether or not they actually go into it. They can still be attracted to it. Persuasive techniques, and that's what sales is as well. But the intellect is engaged, obviously. The best kind of salesperson is somebody who is intelligent. The people that are aggressive, who just use their will or their, forcing it on people, that is not a very good sales technique. But having information at your disposal is great. The house that you rule, the seventh house, is also great for PR work. So anything with public relations where you are representing a company, a person, you're a spokesmodel, a spokesperson for a company or person, you do very well in that position. Yeah, what else can I say about this? In relationships, so getting back to relationships, which is such a big deal for you. And by the way, you'd be great in the educational field because of the Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Air signs are intellectual. Marriage made in heaven. In terms of relationships, with the moon in Virgo, you really want to be of service to your partner. You really want to improve their life. And with this sun in Libra, there's also that tendency to want to accommodate somebody. But again, it can veer off into the excessive category, okay, where you're doing it too much, where you become enmeshed with them, codependent. Their approval means everything, and if they are a narcissist or other problem personality, they're going to pick up on that on some level, and they're going to withhold approval so they can have more control over you. So your job is to become as confident, self-loving, and independent as you can be. Look to the aspects between Venus. See if there's your ruler Venus. See if there's any like a square or opposition to Neptune. That is a classic, or even a conjunction, I think, could be the same. That can be the classic case of deluded love. In some cases, like with the opposition, you could really project this fantasy onto a partner that just isn't there. With the square, there can be this inability to pick partners who are the right ones for you. Neptune can indicate deceitful partners and addicted partners, partners with other issues. Also, another thing to look at is aspects from Venus to Pluto. That could be a big one too, because Libra is a sign that likes I was going to say pretty things, but likes nice things. You like to live in the lap of luxury if you had your druthers. So, obviously, you can get that for yourself. I'm speaking to a lot of women on this channel, and it's 2022. You can get it for yourself. When I'm recording this, it's 2022. But you may still want a partner who is a good provider, as they say. If your Venus is squaring or opposing Pluto, you may have a tendency to trade on your looks for moolah, for money. And that's a scorpionic thing, because Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio. I was going to say, and if you have like Venus and or Mars in Scorpio, look out, because that can also crop up there too. So not treating love as a commodity or sex as a commodity is important. Your looks as a commodity. That's a very important thing. Don't fall into that trap, because the reason, see, if you were just saying, I want to be a prostitute, I want to make money, I want to make a lot of money, or I want to be a stripper and I want to make a lot of money. Well, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with that, but these are very risky occupations. They're risky physically in some cases and definitely psychologically. So you would have to be very, very on top of your game to be able to do those things. But I think that, especially with prostitution, that's extremely risky physically, for your life, So unless it's the Bunny Ranch and they have like a panic button or something like that. But in general, the thing is that what people discover, like if you marry, let's say it's not like prostitution, but you marry somebody who is, let's say, a lot older and more established, and you don't really love them, but you marry them for their money, okay? You will probably find at some point that you feel a sense of emptiness. You're standing in this big house, this mansion or McMansion, whatever you want to call it, and you have all the things that you thought you wanted. You're dressed in beautiful clothes, and you feel like the emptiest person in the world. And that's because at the end of the day, we're looking for human connection. We're looking for love. And it's one of those lessons that somebody who is ruled by Venus has to learn the hard way sometimes, because depending on earlier circumstances, you may have placed too great an importance on the material. Sometimes materialism is coming from a lack earlier on in life. And so it's very understandable that money becomes the end-all be-all if there's not enough of it. So I just, I think about my mom. One time she was talking about, she came from an environment where she understood this. And she said to me one day, she goes, poor people are the most materialistic people in the world. And I think that was a good observation. And it's not a condemnation, it's an important distinction. But learning to dance with the material but not getting consumed by it, and not using a relationship as a vehicle for that, is a very good lesson for Libra, because that can, those types of relationships, by the way, can also spiral into those very abusive relationships too. If, there is that side to if that person's a narcissist, and a lot of narcissists will happily enter a relationship with somebody based on, like that sugar daddy type of situation because they're narcissists and they can't really feel. So they want that arm candy, and they will open their pocketbook for that because it's a control mechanism. It's not true generosity. There are strings attached to that, so just remember that. And I'm only talking about relationships that do fit that bill. You might be with somebody who's older than you, maybe a lot older than you, and you have a great relationship and they're generous, and it has nothing to do with tit for tat, So, in any case, I'm going to leave it there because I'm getting into these weird tangents. But I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.